next.
You guys are awesome. Did a fabulous job. I love the show and tell. So my tell is when I started wood turning, I went and got a old shopsmith. The bars were all rusted, so the head wouldn't move back and forth. The tailstock wouldn't move back and forth. Spent a lot of time sanding on it. Chucked up my first bowl between centers. Well, it was just a chunk of wood. Fired that sucker up, grabbed my spindle gouge, dug into it, and ended up putting a big dent in the side of the wall of my shop. And I wished that in the first year that I had been doing wood turning, that this demo would have been in my wheelhouse. So there's, anybody that's new here, you're going to learn a lot. All you guys that are professionals, you have to bear with me because this is just going to be basic stuff for all you guys. I want to start out with some real basics with wood. This here is log cut in half, okay? And so when you go and start splitting wood, which way do you split it? Like this, right? You ever turn it this way to split it? How come? Why can't you split it this way? Yeah. So as you know, wood or trees grow kind of like this. Sometimes they grow like this, and sometimes they're all twisted. But this is called end grain. This is called side grain. This is going to be really important for what we're going to be talking about here. One of the things that term that kept coming up that I didn't have people explaining to me is uphill and downhill. Now, when I'm hiking, I know what uphill and downhill is, but with wood, I don't. So here's a hill, right? Uphill, downhill. Which way do you turn? You can turn either direction, right? You can turn uphill, you can turn down here, you can turn sideways, you can just, do whatever you want. But if you have want to reduce your tear out, you turn downhill, because as you're turning downhill, you have all these fibers in here, and I'm in front of it, okay? So you got all these fibers in here, and if you're cutting and you have support, then you will have less tear out. If you turn the other direction, you kind of cup and have a lot of tear out. So what's that mean with the bowl? Here's you got a bowl. Downhill, supported fibers, inside is that direction. Outside is that direction. Okay? Uphill, downhill. So I'm going to set this down for a bit, and I moved this for a minute. I'm going to move it back, and then we're going to get rid of it again, because I'm going to turn for about 10 minutes. That's all we're going to get turned today. What we're going to do is we are going to turn 3-sided boxes, or just 3-sided vessels, for our challenge piece this next month. That work for you? Okay, so this is just a sphere with Josana paints on it, and I needed something to hold it, so I made a 3-sided dish for it. Okay, this is just an artistic piece. This one's butt ugly because the finial's too big, but it is a hollow form. So, gonna do that? Yeah. So, first of all, what we're gonna do is we're gonna completely modify things, because, back in the olden days, they didn't have chucks or anything else. So I'm taking the center out of here. Okay. And we're going to turn this just like this. Okay? I'm going to send this around in a minute But I'm going to send this around first. How do you get a three-sided vessel? Make a perfect cube. It's got 8 points in it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you turn it, you got 2 of them that are supported in your lathe. Now you got 6. I painted 3 of them red. See as I turn that around? And 3 of them black. If I keep all the black ones, cut all the red ones off, I have a three-sided vessel. There you go. So I did this at home just to show you. Still has the points on it. I've got a three-sided vessel. I've got it ready for a tenon. And this is a interesting piece of wood because it was a post out of a table or chair or something because it's all laminated up. So that's what we're going to do first. So here we go. You notice I have this piece of tape on here. Can you see that on the, yeah, you can see that. Piece of tape, I got one little edge there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this. Oops, I don't want to get hit. Oh, back up. Okay, that's off. That's off. So if I want this to be right, I got to tweak it just a little bit. Why am I having trouble with this? Because I'm doing a demo, that's why. Yeah, so that's close enough, okay? So tighten that down. Reset my, okay, so you can see the 3 points I want to keep are clear over here. The ones I'm going to cut off are right over here. I'm going downhill. Can I cut it uphill? I can, but I'm going to have more problems, especially if I try to get on these ends. I'll probably nick the corners off, which I don't want to do. That's what happens when you get too aggressive. I'm trying to cut as much time as I can here, so It's starting to look pretty good. And you always shut off your machine when you move your tool rest. What's going on out here? Oh, wrong kind of wood. Yeah. Now we want to get this prepared for a chuck in grain. I'm popping it out. So, I want to get this ready for a chuck. What I'm going to do is my chuck opening I want is going to be right there. And my pencil right here. So I'm going to mark the top side of this. That's the bottom side of my tenon. Okay. So like when I did the platters, I used an old piece of fir, which is the worst wood in the world to do, like I told you then. Interesting things, I did that really thin uh, plate, and I sent it around, and somebody broke it. And Dean told me, he says, you really got lucky. It didn't break on you. Well, yeah, the grain is really uh, pronounced in fir, and it cracks and breaks really easy. Fortunately, I didn't break it on the lathe, but it did break just by handling it. This here, I shipped out a bunch of the end grain on it, but now you can see how that kind of goes. So at this point, what I would do is I just saw that off, put that in a tenon. So there you go. You can see you can do it with not much. So at this point, I'm going to move this away. That's all the chips you get for today. So Randall, do you usually turn that way? Oh, I don't. I would rather turn between centers. So let's talk about turning between centers. So this is called a live center, rotating. This would be the dead center. And there's several different varieties of each. And there is, this one's the one way. And what's nice about this one, if you notice, there's no serrations on it. And so if you're turning something that you're going to worry about catches and stuff, if you ever get a catch, it'll just spin because there's nothing that will catch the wood. Wouldn't do anything big with that. If you want, here's another one. It's got small serrations on it. And that works just well. Or if you're going to put a big piece on, here's one that's got a lot of teeth in it. Okay? So you got live center, dead center. Here's another variety. I happen to like these one ways, and other people have them because I could put cones on them. Here's a small cone. I can put a big cone. I can take the interchange stuff. Here's another one that I got when I was really early on. If you break the tip on this one, you're done. But this also works because it rotates. Okay? So here's a piece that I chucked up. And did between centers. It was a log, and it had, out of shape. Put it on there, and one of the things that you do, which I'm going to see if I can do with this bigger piece, but if you notice here, see all this tear out? That's because I just got in here aggressively and just started cutting. This is end grain, right? This way is end grain. This way is side grain. If I cut this way, I can avoid all that tear out. If I cut this way, I'm probably going to get tear out. So that's what's going on with that one. So the tree grew like this, okay? So this is end grain. This is side grain. So if I want to cut side grain this way, what do I do with my fancy gouge? There we go. So if I'd use a bigger gouge, but I can cut like this, all right? Or you can take a skew and you can do peeling cuts like this. Well, it's kind of all over the place. This way. See the rings are coming out? There's a knot in it. I mean, there's a lot of different things going on with this piece. It'd be a lot clearer when I put this other piece in. Yeah, good. Okay. So let's just suppose I wanted to put this on like this. See, it's heavy down here, right? So if I just back off, put it in a different place. So in this case, if I wanted to actually do this, see, I got to get these teeth in there. So the way I get these teeth in here is I'm going to crank this down tight. I'm going to lock my spindle, and I'm going to either work it in. Yeah, if you got everything all tied down, you can do this until that gets good and tight. What's moving here? Now you do that enough, you can turn this on and spin that pretty quick because it's all balanced. You could round that even though you've got a whole bunch of this on both ends that need to come off, but it's pretty balanced. Okay. Alternately, with this piece of wood, I could take and hope I know about where the right spot is. I could put my dead center on that, take a wooden hammer, not a steel hammer, and beat that in, and then stick it on. Okay? Or we could do it this way, right? Same song, second verse. You want to do live edge, you probably got that demo last month, but you can do that just between centers. You got to worry about the bark, so chisel the bark off to get to wood, but then you can put that on there. That way you can adjust it. And one of the things that is important when you're doing natural edge stuff is if you don't get your tenon in right where you've done that with a Forstner bit or a chisel or whatever and guessed wrong, instead of your bowl being level, your bowl could end up like this, right? So if you want to be able to adjust that everywhere you want to be and start out between centers, at least till you find out where it's at, then you can drill it in and do that. You don't have to turn it between centers, but that's just a thing. Okay. So the other thing I do is I've got a whole series of rounds from 3-inch to 20-inch. Just these are just plastic. You can do it out of any kind of thin material you want, even plywood. And then I can put that on where I want to be, mark it all out. I can know where the center's at, and that'll come in important later. I can take a chainsaw or whatever and cut those corners off, and then I'm ready to turn a bowl. Another idea. Okay. So, turning between centers. Here's another between center project. You can just find the center. If there's a square piece of wood, mark corner to corner and find where the center's at. And you chuck up the center, turn it round. Here's another between center project. Starts out round. I'm going to take this glass tube out of here so it doesn't get broke. But what I did is I used a compass. Got me a circle on there. That's the radius. Radius is from the center of the circle to the outside. I just picked the point, drew a little line, put that in, drew a little line. The second line is number 2. Did it again, did it again. So now I got 1, 2, and 3. I know I'm going fast because I'm trying to get through some of the stuff. Use my awl to poke 3 holes. Here we go. Put that in. Put this on 1. Centered on this end. On this end, it's on 1. Okay, so I did that, got one side, took that out of one, put it in two, took it out of two, put it in three. I can take it out of three, put it back in center if I want. Finish up the fancy stuff on the end, right? I've got a tenon on here. I cut a tenon on here. I'll get to that in a couple of minutes, okay? Remind me if I forget, but I got a tenon on here at this point. We have three-sided done. We have the fancy base done. We still have to core out the center, and that's why that tenon's on there, okay? Another between center project. Put a tree limb between centers, fire that sucker up because you're going to have a balance, right? And run it fast. Just another couple examples of how you can do between centers, get it running fast. You know, it's where you're comfortable. It depends on the piece. If the piece is pretty out of balance and I've got some problems, like when I'm doing these great big bowls like this, I'll start out at like 200 and turn it up until it starts to wobble, then turn it back down. I'll start cutting the outside until I get it more round, and I keep turning it up and turning it up. I probably turned that one at 700 when I got it really going good. If I'm turning something like this, I'll turn that at 2,000 all day, just on centers, yeah. If it's off centers, turn it 1,500, 1,200, just depending on the wood and how comfortable I am with it. Okay, so let's see. Between centers, let's make spheres. Chuck up a rectangular piece of wood, turn a sphere. And I'll show you how to finish those up here in a bit. What else do we do between centers? Mushrooms. Do mushrooms between spheres. Lots of stuff between centers. But let's talk about this one. You've seen this one before, some of you. Some of you have done it. So this is a glue up. Okay. So I'll turn that, which turns all these corners off, right? Then I'll turn it 90 degrees. Turn all those corners off. So now I have all these corners are off all the way around, and all these corners are off all the way around. So now I have a square bowl, but the outsides are turned like that. So the other piece about that is this center piece here is waste. That's my waste block. The bowl sets just like that. So when I got done turning this, I cut that waste block in half after I put a recess on both ends. Now I got two bowl blanks. Then I can chuck up the recess because this is already turned. I don't know if you can see, the camera can see that there. See that line there? That line there, this line here? That's the profile of the side of the bowl. Okay, so now I've got two bowl blanks. I can hollow out the center, circular, starts out between centers. Okay, not quite ready to go to chucks yet. I want to talk about face plates because most people that have a lathe have a live center and a face plate. So that's where we're going next. So this is just a piece of MDF. Found the center. Uh, One of the ways I find the center is I have a fancy little thing I bought. Uh, they make these for 1 inch and for 1.25 inches. I don't know about the one-way metric stuff, but the rod has a little point in the center. I put a little point right in my divot. Then I can put the screws in the faceplate. So now I'm centered right where it's at. I don't have to try to visualize the thing and get it off. Most important thing, do not use drywall screws ever, or any of the other kind of small screws like that, ever. Ask me how I know. These are sheet metal steel screws, right? I use countersink. You use pan head, whatever you want, but use a substantial steel screw. Don't use the ones you put drywall up with. Okay. I use a variety of sizes depending on what I'm going to be doing. Naturally, this one's got the small ones on it. So, yeah, you can pass that around if you want. So, here we go. Now I got a new way to chuck stuff up. I have my plate here that I made out of a glue up. This is flooring, by the way, hardwood flooring. People throw it away, so I take it, cut it up. I got an X on there. I can stick my tailstock in there. That's double stick tape that's on there now. That way, when I get done with it, I can peel it off pretty easily. You don't want to have a divot in there. Do it this way. Just a piece of wood. So now at this point, I can take a parting tool and make a round blank. Why would I want to make a round blank? Well, if you figure it out, make a whole bunch of different sizes, this is what that is. That's the material I used. And this is how I cut all these circles, and then I glued them together. And in a little bit, I'll tell you how I hollowed that out, but not right now. The other thing you can do is you can take and put a bigger piece on and get yourself set up, and YouTube bowls from a board might be a good demo sometime. You can take and use a parting tool and cut into that glue up board that you have, pull it apart, restack it. This is how they restack. This is all from one board. This is all from one board. Just glued up and stacked. So that's double stick tape. This is a permanent fixture in my shop. I just bought an extra faceplate to do that with. Okay. So next thing we talk about is glue blocks, right? Glue blocks. Yep. Okay. So here's another glue up that I did. My dad makes cutting boards. And so his dunnage, I cut it all up and make a blank out of it. This is uh, thin enough. I don't want to put a lot of divots and stuff in it. So what do? I take my handy dandy faceplate. I make a glue block. Okay. Stick that on there. Now there's a variety of ways to go about this. This one just happens to be flat because I'm lazy. I do it that way most of the time. Get that up. You can pull your, since this is going to be hollowed out on this side, I got a little divot in it. So I'm not too worried about. So I use Type Bond 2. You can use Type Bond 2, Type Bond 3, a variety of glues. Glue that up, stick that on. Really perfectly centered. In fact, if you'll notice, this is not turned completely round. I've got some flat spots in it and whatnot. But that's ready to go. We'll talk about that, but I don't. And I let them go overnight. Last thing before I go in at night, I'll glue up what I'm going to do, head off into bed, come next morning, it's ready to go. Not only do I do them on that way, couple things about this. If you look at Lyle Jameson, he is an interesting fella. He has some philosophies about how to chuck things up. His way about it is he always uses a faceplate with a glue block on it, never puts a washer or anything in here. When he hooks up his wood, he'll do a slight divot in it, and you can see that when you, okay, where is it? Here it is. See, mine's flat, but if he puts a slight divot in there, and you can see light underneath here. And then what he does, he uses thick super glue, and he puts a bead around the edge about like the size of what you'd put toothpaste on your toothbrush. Okay? Puts that on all the way around. He actually will put that on his workpiece, the super glue. On his waste block, he'll spray that sucker down till it's dripping wet with the accelerant, put them together, and half hour later, he's turning. And when he's done, he'll take a chisel and hit it, and it's brittle. Super glue's brittle, and it'll break. And you make sure that if you're ever going to do that, you turn that super glue off there and keep your hands away from it because it'll be sharp as knives. I'm never going to try that. You're welcome to if you want. Look at his videos, but he's just death on any vibration. He finds whatever he can to make everything just as solid as possible with no vibration or anything going on. And he'll use chucks if he has to, but he just doesn't. And he does beautiful work, by the way, but it's not me. Okay? But I'm trying to be faithful in showing you a zillion different ways. So this one, this one starts out between centers. This is another glue up. But this glue up has paper, see, in between here. This center is a glued up MDF. So, Randall, why are you doing anything stupid like that for? Well, that's how I make these. Make sense? Once I turn my good wood round, I can break the joint here with the paper, put them together, glue them up, and now I've got a unique vessel. So, and you know, that's the paper glue up. That's why I brought that. But anyway, you know, I got a tenon on here, so I can put that in a chuck, and now I can turn it. There we go. Okay, so I guess we're just about ready for chucks, huh? So let's talk chucks. Tight bond 2. I use it on everything. So here we go. We're looking at chucks. If you're making chucks require either a tenon or a recess. Which is the right way to go? If I ever make a recess, my wife tells me it's firewood. She's an artist. She hates recesses. And so whatever I do with recess, I have to take and rechuck at the bottom and then, you know, get rid of that recess by curving it in. Like some of the beautiful work I saw over here has some nice feet type stuff in it. But let's talk about recess a little bit. If you're going to turn green wood and you're going to twice turn it, if you turn a tenon the size proper for your chuck, when that wood dries, you will not get it in your chuck because you're going to have to try to get your tenon round again. And where's my piece of wet wood I just did? That's a problem when you get too much stuff here. Anyway, I've got a bowl here that I did wet. Oh, it's this one right here. It's this plate. Okay, this is a myrtle wood, the last core out of a 6-core piece. And it was turned a week or so ago. This tenon measures 1.67 one direction and 1.71 the other direction. And look how small this piece is. You get a big piece like this. This was turned green, and it's not doing too bad. I got some madrone from Reed. Let me tell you, my tenon was about this wide and about that, like that. I mean, it looked like a hot dog. So if you're going to turn green wood and you're going to do a tenon, then fine and dandy. But if you're going to twice turn it, make sure you make it bigger. Now, here's a problem with making it bigger or smaller. If you have a chuck completely closed, all the way closed, a lot of the way they make some of these is they'll make the rings and they'll cut them in 2 pieces. So when they're completely closed, they're not completely round. They're a little bit small, just a little bit. But if you get it wide open, then what happens is it's different. So if it's really completely closed, then it's going to rub on the centers. Your tenon is. If you got it open, these points are going to dig in, and it's not even going to touch here. Let me prove it to you. I hope you can see this in the above here. Can you see how? Uh-oh. Did I mess something up? Okay. So can you see down in there? You can see daylight in here. I don't know if you can see that, but look at that. I got the tip of my scale in there. That is hitting on these 4 corners. Now, on wet wood, green wood, that's not a problem for me because they will dig into that green wood. And as you're turning, you can tighten them down every once in a while because green wood is softer. That's why people love to do green wood because it turns so nice. Uh, dry wood doesn't turn as nice. Most of what I have turned is dry wood. Some of you have been to my house and seen my wood pile. It's almost all firewood. It's been sitting there for years, so it's a lot of dry stuff. If you are turning green wood, a tenon works pretty well. If you're turning dry wood, a tenon can be problematic, especially if you turn one too small. This bowl here, I had this tenon on. This happens to fit the small chuck. I should have used a bigger chuck. And if you notice, it's split on the end grain. So what did I do? I chucked it up and put a glue block on it. And now I could put it in and finish it. So that's one of the trade-offs: dry wood, green wood. Can you do a tenon on dry wood? Absolutely, I do it all the time. But make sure you get them big enough and oriented right. On dry wood, if you use a recess, you have support coming out these two directions, right? So as you're expanding, it's got some support. A tenon on dry wood doesn't have any support, and so if it could split on your end grain. Make sense? Did I explain that okay? So you could do it either way. So quite often what I'll do is I've got these glue blocks. I'll put them in a chuck. I'll put my piece on there, glue it up. Small ones, big ones. So what else do I want to say about tenons? Here we go. This is the other thing I wanted to do. Okay, we're talking round. Now we're talking square. Okay, squares fit in just fine. Okay, got to hurry along. So, how did this one happen? Glue block on this end, about right here was a bowl. This top end, I chucked it up here like a tenon and did what I wanted to here. Hollowed out, glued them together. Then I used a chuck similar to this, but it was a lot smaller. Put it inside there and expanded it. And now I was able to finish off the bottom and clean it up. So you could do an internal one also. Okay. We got to run. We're getting closer. So double stick tape, something about chucks. Chucks have screws in them. And if you turn wet wood, you're going to end up making rust and all kinds of things. Anti-seize lubricant. Take your screws out, put your, Permatex, put it back in, you're good. If you don't do that, you may end up having to drill them out if you ever have any problems. So anyway, just another tip. What else can you do? Now we're talking jam chucks. Jam chucks are next. You can take a piece of wood, put it in your chuck, turn it however you need to, and put your vessel on it, in it. So I told you I'd tell you how to finish up spheres. So this is one way. I had this made by Best Wood Tools. So now I can put a chuck on here. These here are 1.25" 8 nuts that I took a piece of maple, drilled it out, put a nut in, epoxied it. I also put a dowel in this way on the flat, and so made my own chucks, right? Now, I would cut these off before I got to this point, but now I can chuck this up, turn the lathe on, finish turning it around, sand it, everything else. So I've got it all chucked up. Another chucking method. Okay. Do it with eggs. And if you want, you can always thread them and make a box out of them. Okay. And something else you can do is if you want to make if you have a piece like this and for some reason you have to chuck it up and you don't want to have anything messed up here because you want to keep it intact because you're making a dome lid box or something, well, chuck you up a nice piece of wood, get it the size you want it, get you some saran wrap, spray that stuff in there, put that on, set it up, let it set. Tailstock is your friend. Leave the tailstock on it. Now you got a jam chuck that you have not damaged any of your fancy stuff that you want because you can't chuck it up, without messing it up. Another idea. Okay, real quick, specialty chucks. For those of you who are pin makers, you need to drill that up. And the problem here is this is a 1x8, and I've got 1.25 inches. So if you have a 1x8 lathe and you want to do a demo, there you go. There's a 1x8 lathe. Okay. So now here comes that other thing I told you about. You notice I'm spinning 100 miles an hour to get this done here? So before I get going there, this is another way you can go. This doesn't have you can buy this. It's already ready to go. Put your chuck on there. Just to show you it can be done. And I've had the reverse chucks and bowls that makes, because I had something going that I needed to work. And so how do you drill a hole? There you go. Put your drill bit in there. You can drill this out. And there was something else that I was going to show you how to drill out, but that's okay. You got the idea without having to belabor the point. So And we're getting ready to go with the vacuum truck. But before we get to the vacuum truck, I want to backtrack for a second about between center stuff. Because the problem with the vacuum chuck is I don't want to keep taking the vacuum chuck in and out when I want to turn between centers. So what I do, yes, but this doesn't have a Morris taper on it. This fits right there. Turn between centers, make my tenon, take this out, flip the piece around, put it in there, off I go. See how much time I've saved, how much quicker it is? Here's another one, different manufacturer, same song, second verse. Okay. So the other way to go, these come with your lathe. Well, there you go. What's all about? What's that all about? Well, you drill yourself a hole, you screw that on there. Now you can make a plate. Problem with these are so long, so you end up make spacers till you get it out where you want it. You don't like the way that goes? They make a specialty chuck that looks like this. There's two different sizes. Oh well. And then I got another one of these. It's the next two sizes up. Works the same way. Okay. Get this out of here. Uh, you know, if I had to do it all over again, I would probably buy Vic Mark. My biggest chuck is a Hurricane, and I like it really well. Nova chucks just drive me nuts because they're backwards. I mean, they work and they're good and everything else, but they're backwards. Vic Mark, but that's just me. I have one. Okay. They come in really, really, really handy. Uh, I'm just an advocate for tailstock. I use a tailstock all the time. Um, but, you know, you can, oh, that's pretty close. When I'm at home, I've got it set up closer to my workplace, but there you go. So now you can just turn yourself away, turn the bottom off the bowl, all except for the very center. Pull that away. Go ahead and finish up the center. Yeah, I tore my shop up just so I can show you that. Vacuum pump. I don't know. I'd have to look. I don't think it makes a lot of difference. Okay. This is my Vic mark. Now they make several sizes of these cold jaws. This is my big one. And no. Uh, and something about these, they have there's rubber gizmos on here. Here's some important points. That is a good shape for them. Mine are more like that. Here, your bowl can set in here like this, right? And they grip better. They say don't turn these more than 600 RPM. If I turn these at 600 RPM, I'll fly right out of there because they're so straight. If they're really got a good angle to them, you can do better. I always use a tailstock when I'm doing this. Always. Oh yes, yeah. I purposely change those out because I do a lot of a little bit, and a lot of times if it gets dirty between here, you take them all apart and you can clean them up. You know, I can even do on the inside, pull that up, and now I can take that tenon off. Do it on the outside. You know, either way. Um, but this was I brought this because this is my hurricane chuck. But also, I got asked a question: why did you put tape on? Remember that question? And I says, well, because I'm turning greenwood and I'm turning close to the pit, and I've had some problems with cracks. And I'll tell you if it worked good or not. I do it all the time now. It's just blue painter's tape, and I stick it on there, and I let it dry with it on there. It seems like that helps some. I don't know. It's just experiment around, see what you do. Uh, Not technically a chuck, but you know, this steady rest. They make them round so they hold from all corners. I think that's superior. I don't own one, but that's something you can do. But I want to show you something else that, like Mel was saying, you know, I was really scratching my head trying to figure out how to chuck this sucker up, and there's always a way to do it. So here we go. I'm doing this myrtle wood, and beautiful bowl, right? It's 3/4 of an inch smaller this way than it was because I bumped it and took a big chip out of it. So what do you do when you have the foot off, and you know, do you put another glue block on it? You know, what do you do to take and fix the rim? Ta-da! Ooh. Well, before I do that, let me show you what else I did here. That's what I did. My vacuum chuck is, you know, rubber, so it's not going to scar it up. And this is that stuff you put in the bottom of a toolbox drawer. So I'll keep trucking up and turn the edge off the bowl. There's a bunch of other stuff we could talk about, but we got to stop uh, unless Joel says there's got time for questions and answers. But okay, so you drank from the fire hose tonight. Is there anything that I need to reiterate or questions or? Correct. Correct. In fact, you could tap inch and a quarter eight and make your own, yeah, faceplates. And just remember the old guys didn't have all this stuff. In fact, they had one of these lathes that you had to do this to make it run, and they did beautiful stuff. So, so there's always a way to do things. Just figure out how to do something, and then share it with the club. Oh, yeah, three-sided box. Oh, the one thing I didn't tell you about the three-sided box, I don't that I should tell you, really, because you only know how to do it without a chuck and everything, don't you? That would be disingenuous of me to leave you that way, because you don't have to do it that way. By the way, Reed's guy, Ron Smith, uh, has, because of the tariffs and stuff, his buddy has gotten three successful bids on 3 units, and he has myrtlewood logs that he will mill to whatever size you want or bring you the whole log. And the biggest one he has is 7-foot diameter. He's got a couple of 3-foot diameters. Yeah, I had to cut it in 4 sections. Guess where one of the 3-footers going to be? I'm getting this 3-footer. I like big bowls, I cannot lie. Okay, so yeah. So okay, this is what I was supposed to show you and got sidetracked. So here's your square, right? Cube. And where's my pencil? And I didn't bring my other uh, what's that? It's called a square, I think. And it's the metal, and it has it slides back and forth. And huh? Combination square. So you get a combination square, and measure down like an inch, put a little mark, and then, or you measure down without a combination square, and cut a flat on the 2 corners that you would normally just stick in the holes. Then you can spur drive it up and turn it. I should have showed you that a long time ago. But now you know 2 ways to chuck up next month's challenge project. And I can't wait to see Mel's. It's going to be what, 3 feet? Yes, never use plywood for race block. Absolutely. Good comment. Yeah.
Never use a recess for in plywood. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Thank you.